everyone. Welcome to the Crazy Canuck Truckin' Podcast. I am one of your co-hosts. My name is Bridget. I am the Size Matters Dakotan. My co-host is
Crazy Canuck Dave. Thank you, everybody, for tuning back in again. We still have some listeners.
It's fantastic. And for those of you who are listening, don't forget, give us a 5-star rating where you listen to your podcast. Better yet, send us your question, your comments. You can do that at Crazy Canuck Truckin' on Twitter, on Instagram, and at Gmail. Plus, if you don't just want audio, you can watch us on YouTube. So, should we get right into things today, David? What would you like to introduce? Because we're doing something new, fun, and different.
It is very different for this young podcast. We are almost a year in, getting close to a year in, and we have something we have never done before, Bridget. Never.
I have 2 questions. 1, when we have the year anniversary, will there be cake? And 2, what have we never done before?
I think we should have cake. I know somebody that makes some nice caramel rolls. Do you know anybody like that?
Huh. Funny. I do. In fact, I think I delivered some today. Nonetheless.
Oh. And can we cut this podcast? I want to go and get a bite to eat now after all this talk about caramel rolls and food. Okay, enough of that.
We got to guess.
Okay.
We got to guess.
She's waiting patiently, and she puts up with us because she's been on this show before. And that's what we're doing again. We are getting a guest back. You know, for the first time ever, we have a returning guest. Not only did she allow us to interview her the first time, she has agreed to come back again because she has some tremendously big, exciting, possibly emotional, but big news coming. Leanne, welcome back to our program. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Dave and Bridget. Yes, I'm a little bit nervous today because there's been some big moves and shakes in my life in the past month or so. Should I go ahead and share?
Big moves. Big moves.
Yeah. Yep. I want to know what's happened. I want to know what's changed. And also I want to say, I'm so glad we didn't scare you the first time that you thought you should come back for number 2. So
okay. So when was I on last? 3 months ago?
Boy.
4 months ago?
Yeah, you were just before Christmas sometime you were on with us.
Okay.
It's been a while.
It's been a while and a lot has changed. So last time I was on, I talked in depth about our family trucking company in Allison
called Transport.
Paul Quayle Transport. You got it. And since then, I have left the family business and I'm now, I know. Okay. Let's pause for the shock. 3, 2, 1. Okay. So yes, I left the family business and I have a new job at CPC Logistics Canada.
Wow. Are you as shocked as me, Bridget?
So I have a lot of questions.
Okay.
Imagine that. So going from your family business to CPC, I'm sure there's going to need to be a why, but from a family business to a corporation, what are you doing for them? I mean, give me the download. I may have to stop you and ask more.
Okay. So I haven't really talked too much about this publicly. It was a decision that I thought about for really a long time. So if we look at family businesses, a part of my decision was based off the fact that working for family is not the easiest path in a lot of cases. So that is part of it. But a bigger part of it for me was, you guys know me, I'm kind of a big dreamer and I set my sights pretty high, and there's a lot that I wanted to accomplish for the industry. Some of my plans, some of my ideas were not really scalable or realistic to accomplish at Paul Quayle Transport. So there was two main factors. I mean, anybody working for a family business will probably give you the same thing. It's fantastic. It's incredibly rewarding. I mean, there's so much pride involved in it, but there is difficult times. But it's really important for me to say, right alongside with that, there was no massive failure, no big argument, no huge event. This was something that I considered for an incredibly long time. I probably put a good 6 months of seriously considering it before I decided to make my move. And I tell you, leaving the family business is probably one of the hardest things I have ever done. And I'm realistic in knowing that if this is the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, I've been living a pretty good life so far. So we'll keep it in perspective. But I mean, I was there for 23 years. So leaving any job for 23 years, I mean, this is the first time I've done it. So I've heard that alone is incredibly difficult. Then you add the family aspect, and I think I cried for my entire last week straight. And I had to explain to my kids, like, this is why mommy's crying today, because it's such a big thing. I'm leaving behind so much that I worked so hard on. And now I'm starting a new chapter. And at the same time, they were transitioning from homeschooling to back to in-school classes. And they were feeling some of the same emotions that I was. So it was kind of nice, because they were scared to be the new kid in the class, which is kind of like being the new person showing up to work for the first time.
Yeah. Have you ever had any other job?
Yeah, that's a good question. So yes, kind of. When I was in high school, I taught horseback riding lessons for my coach. So that was a pretty fun gig for me. I mean, it combined kids and horses. So I absolutely loved that. And I had a job at the coffee shop right at 89 and 50, right across from our home farm. How old would I have been for that? Was I 15, 16 for that maybe? But those were really just supplemental jobs, and everything else. I think I was still working at Quail during those times too. So yeah, no, totally new experience for me. Definitely, when I say I thought about it for a long time, one of the things that I considered was I've got one shot at this whole life thing that all of us do, and I mean, why not? I had some reasons why, and then the why nots were I'm so proud of what we built together, and just thinking about, okay, there's this element of there's maybe a shortness in feeling independent too. So when I was able to transfer to this next role that I chose and was able to put a lot of thought into, instead of just being born into it, I kind of felt a little bit of added independence, which is very strange for somebody that's 37 years old to finally feel independent. It's crazy.
Wow.
So what is the next role? What is it that you're doing?
Okay, so I mean, I love it. I've been in it. I started April 6th was my first day. We're filming this April 29th. I don't know when it airs, so I'm not even quite a month in, but spent a lot of time talking, figuring out if this was the right move for me. So now I'm at CPC Logistics Canada, and I am a regional manager. I get to work with some people that I really have admired for a long time, which is awesome. I get to work for a company that I've also really admired some of their safety programs for a long time. And I'm pretty hard to impress in those aspects. And do you want me to go back to the beginning, how I first kind of found out about CPC and what they do? Because it's kind of a cool story. I should probably get into that, eh?
Sure. Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, so Charlie Shields works, I don't know his exact title. He's worked for CPC for many years. He is, I believe, safety and compliance manager. He's really deeply involved in the John Deere division. And he saw me speak 3-4 years ago at a fleet safety council in Grimsby, Ontario, and came up to me afterwards and had the sweetest things to say to me. I don't know if either of you have ever had the pleasure of meeting Charlie Shields. Bridget, you probably haven't.
I haven't yet.
He's one of those people where you have to, if you have the opportunity, he will instantly make you feel better about life. He is one of those people where you talk to him for just a few minutes and you just know he's like a good human to his core. And I just get so drawn to people like that. So after my presentation, he came up and said just the kindest things to me, and he really loved what I was doing. And I think in the next breath, he said, you really need to connect with this young guy at CPC that I work with, and his name's Matt Carr. And he's like, I think you two you need to talk. You guys need to connect and talk trucks. And so that was a few years ago. I think I'd met Matt a couple times, but I always had it in the back of my mind, because if Charlie Shields tells me it's somebody that I should connect with, then I'm going to trust him on that. And we ended up doing a panel together at the PMTC conference. And it was on leveraging data for safety. And we connected over that, and then kind of relied on each other in the next couple years when we were working through issues at our respective companies or regulatory changes. I mean, we jump on a call and kind of hash things out together. So now he's my boss, and it's great because working with him kind of happened organically. So it's very exciting. And I think he's absolutely brilliant. I saw him, I hope he doesn't listen to this because I don't want to talk him up too much, but I saw him do a presentation on their driver scorecard and how they've gamified safety for their drivers. And it dropped their CVR at that point. It was dropped down to like something ridiculously low, like 3.75, or I just remember seeing this presentation and being like, oh my gosh, like this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. So yeah, that was kind of the backstory.
I think Bridget is going to have 2 questions. What is PMTC? And she'll ask the next one, because I know she's going to ask.
Yeah, I was already making note. I'm like, don't just use abbreviations for the dumb kid over here. Tell me what that means.
Okay, so PMTC is Private Motor Truck Council. It's in Canada, and it is kind of the association that helps out private fleets, which CPC services private fleets, and something that I've become deeply involved in with the Young Leaders Group. I am vice chair sitting on the Young Leaders Group for the PMTC, and also a director on the main PMTC board.
Because I think you got an award from them, didn't you?
I have gotten 2 awards from them, 2 scholarships. So
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
And I don't know when this is going to air, but I mean, always keep an eye on the PMTC awards program, because they've got, that's where I got my Young Leaders bursary that went towards 4 courses at the Canadian Institute of Traffic and Transportation. They've got Driver Hall of Fame. They've got Fleet Safety Awards. They've got free AZ training. They'll award free AZ training to somebody. There's awesome awards. So check out their website and see if you can jump in on any of those.
So my questions keep piling up. What's AZ?
Oh, CDL1. Does that help? Is that what
Yes,
is that what the rest of the world calls it? The rest of North America?
In my world, if you say CDL, I now understand what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay, got that part. Good. Okay. But here's my bigger question for you. I know that making a decision to leave a family business like that is not one that you just do because Charlie called you on Monday and you decided you were leaving the next day. I have no doubt this was something you really thought about and wrestled with for a while. Yes. And then how did it go when it was time to tell the family?
I think I had kind of led up and said, I'm thinking I'm going to explore some other options for me out there. They were truly two separate decisions. So my decision to leave the family business was one step. The decision to join CPC was a separate decision. I took a little bit of time off in between. I took a month off in between to give myself some time to, it was a process. It was an emotional process. And I had some fantastic people checking in on me and saying, how are you doing? And I'm like, I'm good today. I'm feeling good about it. I'm sure there's going to be some days, but most of them have been feeling really, really good about it. It was definitely the right thing for me. Timeline wise, I've months and months.
Well, one of the things you said in our first podcast together, and at this point, Leanne, I'm already counting on you to come back like every quarter. So when you said that you had gotten, I think it was a 4-wheeler, you got stuck and you knew to call your brother to come help you instead of your dad.
Yeah.
Can you still call anybody to come pull you out so you don't have to tell the whole world that you got stuck? Or
she called somebody else, not her brother.
Are you?
No,
right?
I'm going to avoid calling them. Yeah, just because I don't want to give them some ammo. Yeah. So you know what? That's one of the things that I'm actually excited about, because I'm looking back and I'm thinking, we've been so busy with this business that we built. What else have we talked about in the last 20 some years? It was all work. So, the relationships are going to change a little bit, but I consider it to be probably for the better, because maybe we'll be more interested in more leisurely things in each other's lives instead of just being like work. So I'm looking forward to it. There's still an adjustment period. I think no matter how much notice and warning I gave, there's still this shell shock. I think there was an element of maybe they just thought I was going through a phase, or that I wasn't actually going to leave. I don't know. There's a bit of a shell shock process, but looking forward to it.
No brothers have ever said about their sister that they're just going through a phase. That never happened.
Yeah,
right?
Little heavy on the sarcasm there.
At what point do you want me to tell you what my brothers have actually said about me? And that's just the stuff I know. So right there with you, Leanne.
You're still in a phase.
Yeah, I'm still in the phase.
This new phase that I've chosen for my life, I'm having a lot of fun. And I feel like part of me, I think I was hired based off of a lot of the things that I've accomplished, but now that I'm there at CPC, I really feel like I've got room to grow and spread my wings even more. I feel like I'm just getting started, which is super exciting. It's so exciting for me. And my job description is I have to talk about my job description. Things that other people would read and go, oh gosh, that's a lot, or that's a lot of responsibility. I'm a bit of a strange one, and how much I love safety and compliance and the operations side of things, and anything regulatory. I just absolutely geek out over it. And I'm reading my job description, and I was just it was when you're at your favorite restaurant and the waiter rate just brings out your food and sets it in front of you, and you're like, I can't wait to dig into this. That was what my job description was like. I'm like, I cannot wait to dig into this. And the best part, which I think is a really good reflection on the company that I chose to join, was it actually said in there, and I don't know the exact wording, but something in terms of keep up with what I'm doing, things like these podcasts, attend industry events for the betterment of myself, CPC, and the industry. So they're fully support. Isn't that like, that's come huge. On, that is the company that I signed on with. Like,
yes,
isn't that incredible? Like, it says, keep going forward with the things that you love. What more could I ask for? Come on.
Yeah, because let me try to tread through this carefully, but when you're the boss's daughter and you leave, there's always a feeling of you get away with a little bit more because you are the boss's daughter, and you get to do more things because you are the boss's daughter. And so that could be a worry, or it could be a rumor, or it could be something going around that, wonder if she's going to get the same amount of time to continue doing what she was doing.
I'm going to call bull on that whole statement, Dave. And I know, Bridget, I knew you were going to love that. I'm going to call bull on that whole thing. No, in some cases, yes. But I mean, in my experience, I think it made my dad harder on me because I was his daughter. I think it made him like a little bit more micromanaging of the things that I did. And I think actually the opposite's true. And I had to work in order for me to attend any industry event. I had to have my desk, my inbox, my list of things done. I had to work my butt off in order to get to those things. So yeah, opposite. Bull, David.
I'm just trying to see, is there a silver spoon there somewhere?
No, can't even say it. I would have had to pound that out myself.
I firmly believe that. I really think I really think, and I don't know if this is just a dads and their daughters situation. I know I see it happen in farm families all the time with dads and the sons, but I really think that dads and daughters, there is a level of expectation, especially when your dad has his own business and your name is attached to it. So you better do a good job. You got to be up to his standards. And just to prove to the neighborhood that you're not getting that silver spoon, yeah, he's going to make you work just a little bit harder. I totally understand what you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. And you know what? That's another thing that I should add that was a factor in my decision. The role that I'm in is stressful at any company. It's going to carry some stress to it. But I feel like I was carrying a lot of added stress that I probably wouldn't. Like when I was at Quail, I was carrying so much more that I don't think that it was helping my job performance too much. It wasn't, helping my heart rate or anything like that. But that added responsibility of like constant worry, like, am I going to make a mistake that's going to cause a problem for us? And of course, I still care about that now. But I mean, I've got this brain which makes me function in safety, which is this worst case scenario thinker, where I can like look at, a driver standing beside a truck and think, okay, well, that's an unsafe spot for him to be standing or blah. Like I can just run through to the worst case scenario, and that can be kind of exhausting on you. And so I always worried that like, oh, am I going to mess something up, or am I going to miss something, or I'll handle a collision wrong. And it's not just that it's going to cost the company money. This is my family I'm protecting all the time. It's a lot to carry. So
this is going to ruin Christmas dinners.
This is going to ruin Christmas. And I mean, that's just how my brain works. But I have a little bit less stress in that aspect now, which is great.
So I also think, though, that your family will understand when you come to them and say, you know what, there's some other things out there I want to do. So I would very much, and I don't want to assume, but I would surmise that your family was supportive. And what was the reception like when you got to CPC? Did they know who you were? Were they excited to see you?
Everybody knows who Leanne is. Everybody.
Yeah, I've had contact with several of them before. I mean, I have this tendency to talk any opportunity that I have one. So I know, look at Dave rolling his eyes. I've spoken a lot of events. I've won a few industry awards. So that really got my name out there. I feel like walking around with a head of curly hair maybe makes me stand out a little bit too, because they can spot me from across the room and there's the girl with the curly hair. And it's been really nice because I've been able to continue working just with some service providers and stuff that I've really enjoyed working with in the past. So yeah, there was a lot of things that continued, which were really great. And even if I hadn't met some of the people in the Mississauga office, I've heard of them or they've heard of me, and it's been pretty cool. Very incredibly welcoming. Everybody has been so welcoming. It's been awesome.
So you actually have a commute now.
I do. Well, you're currently looking at my new home office behind me for the people that are watching this in video. But yes, the head office is in Mississauga, and I mean, farm girl in the city. I I think I was driving my first day going, oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm actually driving to the city for work. And I've got to wear nicer clothes than I usually do. And I'm wearing heels and stuff, which I'm not even sure how to walk in yet. So that's been an adjustment that I've had to make. And, but I do have some work from home as well. So it's pretty good. And to be honest, the drive is some of the, it's been the most alone time I have had in a long time. So I haven't minded it.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. Sometimes you just need that decompression before you get back home, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It's been good. But I did notice one weird thing. Because my first week I made a point to be in the office every day. So I commuted to Mississauga every day. And then on the weekend, I probably got halfway through the weekend. And I mean, it's just realized how much of a stark contrast it was to what my week looked like. I mean, on the four-wheelers bombing around, then I'd switched on a horse and go for a rip in the field, and then up to the bunkie and have a fire. I was like, am I like trying to get over the fact that I spent my work week in the city? So that was,
you are.
It was. I think I made a comment to somebody in the office that they wouldn't believe how much effort it took to get all the dirt off of me from the weekend to get me presentable for work on Monday.
Yeah.
So speaking of work, you had some terms that I wanted to make sure that we clarified a little bit that I hadn't got. What's a CSVA score?
CS what?
CVSA.
CVSA.
Oh, CVOR. That was the term. So that's like our safety rating. You've got like DOT, SMS. This is our version of that. So, I mean, anything under 10% is like very difficult to achieve, considered to be excellent. And so the lower the score, the better you are.
And they
and
had
that rating
3 point something.
I think it was like 3.74 or something like that. Yeah. Like just like, I think the whole room went, whoa. And I mean, CVR scores will fluctuate depending on several factors. But it's still low single digits now. So I just looked at it the other day. I'm like, holy crap, this is tight. Love it. And I mean, for me, that's just like the most exciting thing.
The CVSA score is similar, but that's used in the US. So they use a little different system. Everything adds points.
Mm-hmm.
So again, the lower the number, the better.
I always call it the SMS score in the US.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And employees, this is a good practice for employees actually. If they want to go work at a place, you can check out those scores. And if you want to, so you want to go work at a company, you can look at their scores, their safety, basically it's a safety rating. And you'll know if it's a high score, you're going to be getting pulled into scales all the time. You're going to be scrutinized more. There's going to be more restrictions on you. And you know that there's a reason for that. So you go, as truck drivers, you really should be looking for a company with a low score. That's where you want to work because that's where you're going to get the least amount of hassle and where you're going to have the best equipment on the roads. Okay. So that's really important for drivers. If they want to go to a good company, get into the place that has a lowest score. So that's what I've done too. I've looked at people's scores before and I'm like, no, I don't want to go there. No, it's not worth it.
You'll find that like all of them to a certain extent will fluctuate too. Yep. They're pretty reactive depending on if something kind of severe happened or the size of the fleet depends on how reactive your scores are. The smaller the fleet, the more of a jump you can see as well.
Yeah.
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 So Leanne, you made this big move, like you said, many years at the same family company. So what's your advice to those who are currently listening, pondering, should I make a change? Should I not? How should I think about it? How should I approach this?
Okay. So it's a very emotional decision, but it shouldn't be made based off of emotion. You should not do it if there's a certain rough patch or an argument. I'm so glad that when I left, there's no argument or blow up or just storming out the door one day. Like it shouldn't be done in that circumstance at all. For me, it was this, I called it my happy ending to my time at Quail. I actually knew for a really long time that it wasn't going to be my forever spot, which that took me a while to kind of come to that. And it was just a matter of finding the perfect timing for it. And I think I found it and was able to leave in, I worked my butt off the last few months before I left, like setting things up and making sure that I felt really good about the time when I was leaving and the processes that were in place, and knocked off some big ticket items so I could walk away just being like, okay, I gave it my all, and now I'm gonna go give something else my all. So yes, emotional decision. Don't do it off of emotion. Do it off of facts and evaluation and just we've got one go at this whole life thing, and I am a little bit bold at times, so here I am, and I don't regret it. I knew it was the right decision, as difficult as it was. Oof, it was hard. But the whole time I knew it was right. So that was good to feel good about it that way too.
I can't reiterate that enough. Make business decisions without the emotion. And that's hard to do. I mean, I work in agriculture, a lot of family farms, a lot of emotion, but that is so important. Just take the emotion out.
Yeah. I mean, it's good to have emotion because it's a big thing that drives me. I'm even finding I've 3 weeks at CPC and I'm already feeling so involved in it. It's a great driving force. It's excellent to love and care about the things that you do, but it can't drive your decisions. So yeah, I have to add one more thing because it might cause confusion for people and might be like a little bit misleading. So I've been going by Quail professionally for all of this time. And I've been married for, wow.
What? You don't know off the top of your head? I'm going to
She's
call.
not the
She's
not the only one.
I'm going to call your husband and tell him that you cannot give him a hard time. He doesn't remember the number.
He's not going to know either.
Well, that's besides the point.
I think it's going to be 12 years in September. So I've gone by Drummond, my married name, and everything else, except for in trucking, I just kept up with Quail. Then I'm starting to do like paperwork and stuff for CPC, and the head office is in the States. And I'm like, this is going to be a mess before all the other paperwork came through me at Quail. So I just managed what needed to say Quail and what needed to say Drummond. And I'm like, this is too complicated. So yeah, nobody's going to offend me by calling me Quail. I mean, people have called me Quail as a nickname my whole life. They still call me Quail, even though I've been married for 12 years. So yeah, it's one of the changes that I thought, I'm like, well, I might as well. Looks like this marriage thing is going to stick. So I'll start going by Drummond now to make the paperwork easier. So I'm like, this is going to look bad though, because people are seeing me leave the family company and now I'm going by Drummond. But the fact of the matter is I've always gone by Drummond.
Well, you cut all ties when you leave, don't you?
Does that sound?
Bye, Leanne Quail. Bye, Leanne Quail. Now it's right? Mrs. Drummond.
Yeah, don't call me Mrs. Drummond. No, but it's not anything that would ever offend me. It just made the paperwork a lot easier. So, and it'll simplify things going forward. And I mean, maybe there was a bit of a brattiness when I got married. Like when I get married, the ownership of me doesn't change. So I'm still going to hold on to Quail in some way. Who knows? Anyways.
I kept my name from before I was married. So.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I bet you did. That's great.
Hashtag dad jokes.
Thank you for beating me to that. I'll give you the point. Poor Dave. He stepped in on this call with us.
A lot of estrogen here, David.
I offered it. I don't know what was going on with me, but I offered it.
It's ridiculous.
Can we get into that, Leanne?
What? About what?
About why you're on this show?
Wasn't that why I was on the show? Isn't that what we've been talking about?
Yeah, but I asked. Well, no, I didn't ask. You actually.
Oh, are you talking about that phone call?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you broke my heart.
What? I thought it was you breaking my heart.
That's why you broke my heart, because I was breaking your heart. Okay, you need to explain now what we're talking about.
Okay. So I love family-run companies. You know that. Most people know that. I love family-run companies. I tried to have my own company. I wanted to pass it down to my kids. You know, things didn't work out. But I'm very passionate about family businesses. And it's hard for me to see so many family businesses that have been around for 2 or 3 generations getting sold and going to other people. And even though it's always said, well, you know, we're going to stay involved. Come on. It's not the same anymore. And it doesn't last very long. And there is a company that got bought out, you know, a couple months ago. And I was devastated. I did not see that coming with that company. And I called Leanne and I said, Leanne, I need to talk to you. And Leanne Quayle.
Oh gosh.
I didn't know better.
This was the worst.
I didn't know better. And I called her up and she was busy. She says, can I call you later? I said, sure, fine. And so I pulled into the Husky truck stop in Headingley and I'm talking to Leanne. And I was like, Leanne, please tell me that Quail is not going to be getting sold. Like, not right away, please. Come on, give me a little bit of hope that it's not, you're not selling, you know, like everybody else is selling. Please don't sell. And you actually talked to me for a few minutes and then she says,
oh gosh.
Are you sitting down? Because you're not going to like what I'm going to have to say. And Leanne told me that she was leaving Quail. And I was in shock. And
you broke my heart. I could hear like the pain that it caused you. And like I was the like emotional one through this whole process. And then I found like I was like, okay, don't show emotion. You need to be strong for Dave here because he's so upset that you're leaving the family business. That was what happened. I felt terrible.
Oh no, it was one of those things where I thought, you know what, I should talk to Leanne. It's not like, I mean, we don't talk that often. We stay in touch a little bit here and there. And for some reason, I just thought, oh, I got to talk to Leanne about this because, you know, and then she dropped this atom bomb on me.
I know. And I don't know if I told you at the time what I was actually doing. I mean, with all big moments in my life and part of maybe my processing ends up with a couple drinks of whiskey around a fire or out in a bush or something like that. Maybe that's one of my coping skills. I might have even been in the shop. I might have been sitting in the shop.
You were on your way into the bush with one of your girlfriends.
Yeah. That sounds about right.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And Bridget, so she has this huge news and she's telling me taking personal time away. That really touched my heart, Leanne, that you would even talk to me at that point. And
okay, you sound amazed. But just remember, this is Leanne. That's who she is.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You guys are too kind.
But I was it really did touch my heart that you entrusted me with that information and you said, please don't tell anybody. And she said, I know you're in media. I'm like, nope, not in media anymore. I'm not
off the record.
I'm talking to you as a friend. And you offered to come on the show. I don't know if I even mentioned it. I think it was your idea that
I think well, because it was no short answer. Like if I was to release a statement on why I left the family business, no 1 or 2 or even 5 sentences. I mean, it doesn't actually tell my story, which was left in good terms, left as good as I possibly could. And I just was looking for different because it's life. I got one go at it, and I knew it was right. I mean, you got to go with some gut too. So
yeah. Well, I really, really appreciate from the bottom of my heart that you talked to me and that you said you wanted to come on the show and give an explanation. I mean, is there anything else you wanted to talk about with that?
No, like of course, like when I told you and I heard how much, like it was like it did blindside a lot of people because there was nothing wrong. Like one of my mentors said to me, just because you're, changing from one thing to another doesn't mean that the thing you're leaving was bad or wrong for you. It just means that you've made a decision to change and do something different for a multitude of reasons. So, I mean, that's where it's at. This has been a whole long explanation because there's so many factors to it, but we're all good. And I'm good. I'm loving my time so far at CPC and the people I get to work with. And I mean, I'm so glad that I was able to come on here to talk about it in the length that it deserves, because you can tell how hard it was on me, and it was closing of this massive chapter of my life that I loved. Yeah. Now I'm starting something else that I'm so far really loving it. So it's been great to have this opportunity to chat about it.
Yeah, so thank you very, very much for coming on here. I really, really appreciate that. And you are, I mean, obviously when I needed somebody to talk to, I called you. That's the respect I have for you. And I really, truly believe that no matter where you are, you're a tremendous asset. And that's the only thing I asked at that time when you told me you were leaving. I said, please tell me you're not leaving trucking, and because we need people like you. And that I didn't ask anything else, and I told you not to give me any other information. I don't want to know any more, but I would keep you in my heart and in my thoughts and prayers. And I really, really appreciate you, Leanne. And I think your family times will be even better. I don't think it'll be a drawback at all. It'll be nothing.
Damn it, Dave! I made it this far.
You made it, yeah.
I am so glad you had the emergency tissues. That's perfect.
I'm gonna curse you for that later. Sorry.
Yeah, probably.
I'll just mute before you do. It's okay.
I showed them before we started this that I had a couple emergency tissues just because. I mean, this is all heart for me. This damn trucking thing that I love so much. Oh man.
Fair enough.
So
geez, Dave, you got me.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I don't know. I can't say anything more. Bridget, can you close this out, please?
I can, because I want to say thank you to Leanne for joining us for the second time in a row, because we didn't scare her off. And I want to say thank you to VIP, who does a lot of our behind the scenes work for us. She is pretty awesome. And I want to say
social.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
And I also want to make sure to say thank you to Jesse James Dupree and Dixie Inc. for the music that they have lended to us to use for our comings and goings. And I like to listen to it when I'm not even on the podcast. So thanks to everyone. We appreciate all of your minutes that you spend with us when we release a new podcast. And just thank you so much, Leanne, for joining us today. So David, thank you for being a great co-host. I'm the world's okayest one.
Thank you all.
Thanks.
Does all the work. Thanks.
From the sky.